Stop doing what you're doing right now, because everything you think you know about rejection is wrong. That's right, you've been approaching it all wrong. And it's time to flip the script. Ever wondered how you can actually turn rejection into your secret weapon for success? Well, stick around, because today we're diving into the dark secret behind using reverse psychology and Stoic philosophy to not just handle rejection, but to thrive on it. Let's get into it. All right, let's be real, no one likes being rejected. Whether it's from a job, a relationship, or even a simple idea, rejection stings. But what if I told you that the sting is just the surface? Beneath it lies an opportunity, a hidden blueprint for personal growth and success that no one seems to be talking about. We're diving into some deep stuff today, folks. We're talking about Stoicism, reverse psychology, and how to take that dreaded no and turn it into the fuel that drives you forward. First off, let's break down a little concept called reverse psychology. You've probably used it before without even realizing it. Maybe you told a stubborn friend, fine, don't come to the party, knowing full well they'd show up just to prove you wrong. That's reverse psychology in action, a method where you subtly suggest the opposite of what you want to happen, nudging someone towards the desired outcome. But how does this tie into rejection? Glad you asked. Psychology 101. The rejection reflex. Rejection hits us right in the gut because it feels like a threat to our very freedom. We're wired to defend our autonomy, and when someone rejects us, it feels like they're taking away a piece of that. It's like telling a child not to touch something suddenly. It's all they want to do. That's because their sense of freedom is at stake, and they'll push back just to reclaim it. Now, let's flip this idea on its head with the Stoic approach. Stoicism meets reverse psychology. A match made in rejection heaven. The Stoics, philosophers like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, believe that we shouldn't be rattled by external events like rejection. Instead, we should focus on what we can control: our reactions, our attitudes, our actions. Sounds simple, right? But here's where it gets interesting. When you're rejected, instead of letting it knock you down, what if you viewed it as a reverse psychology challenge? What if, instead of wallowing in self-pity, you use that rejection to fuel your growth? Picture this. Every no you receive is actually a push towards a better yes, that job you didn't get. Maybe it's the universe nudging you towards a path more aligned with your true purpose. The Stoic blueprint, turning rejection into your greatest strength. Let's break down how you can apply this in your life. Change your perspective. When someone rejects you, don't see it as a loss, see it as a redirection. The Stoics believe that every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. Reframe rejection as a signpost pointing you towards something greater. Master emotional reactance, use reverse psychology on yourself. When rejection tempts you to quit, use that feeling as motivation to push even harder. Tell yourself, fine, I won't try anymore. And watch how your natural drive kicks in, pushing you to prove that inner voice wrong. Embrace the learning curve. Every rejection is a lesson. The Stoics taught that failure is the greatest teacher. Don't fear it, learn from it. What can you do differently next time? How can this no turn into a more powerful yes? Now, let's dive deeper into how these ideas aren't just theoretical, they've been put into practice by some of the most successful people in history. From Steve Jobs to Oprah Winfrey, many of the most iconic figures have faced rejection, only to use it as a stepping stone to greatness. Let's take a closer look. Case study 1. Steve Jobs and the art of rejection. Remember when Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the very company he co-founded? Talk about a rejection that would crush most people. But instead of letting it define him, Jobs used that rejection as an opportunity to explore new ventures, including the creation of NXT and the acquisition of Pixar. These ventures not only shaped the future of technology and entertainment, but also led to his triumphant return to Apple, where he revolutionized the industry yet again. What can we learn from this? Jobs didn't just accept rejection, he used it as a catalyst to reinvent himself and create something even more impactful. This is a prime example of Stoic resilience combined with a keen understanding of reverse psychology. He saw the firing not as an end, but as a necessary step towards a new beginning. Case study 2. Oprah Winfrey's rejection and resilience. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey, a name synonymous with success. But did you know that she was once told she wasn't fit for television? That's right, early in her career, Oprah was fired from her job as a news anchor because she was too emotional. Rather than letting this rejection shatter her dreams, she embraced her emotional depth and used it to connect with her audience on a more profound level. Oprah turned that rejection into her superpower. She didn't conform to the rigid expectations of her industry. Instead, she created her own lane, building a media empire by staying true to herself and her unique way of connecting with people. This is a classic case of turning rejection into a driving force for authenticity and innovation. Practical steps: how to apply this in your own life. Now that we've seen how some of the greats have turned rejection into success, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how you can do the same. Identify the rejection. The first step is to recognize and acknowledge the rejection. Don't sugarcoat it, face it head on. Whether it's a job, a relationship, or any personal goal, it's important to understand what the rejection is telling you. Reframe the situation. Once you've identified the rejection, it's time to reframe it. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better? Remember, the Stoics believe that every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise. What new doors could this rejection open for you? Take action. Rejection is only powerful if you let it paralyze you. Instead, use it as a motivator. Take the lessons you've learned and apply them. Maybe you need to refine your approach, build new skills, or even change direction entirely. Whatever it is, take that step forward. Practice reverse psychology on yourself. Here's where it gets interesting. When you feel like giving up, tell yourself that it's okay to quit, but only if you really truly want to. You might find that the very act of giving yourself permission to stop will reignite your desire to keep going. It's like telling that stubborn part of yourself, go ahead, give up, and suddenly it's like, wait a minute, I'm not done yet. Build resilience. Rejection isn't going to stop coming your way, it's a part of life. But by building resilience, you can ensure that each rejection makes you stronger rather than weaker. Practice gratitude, focus on what you can control, and keep pushing forward, no matter how many doors close in your face. The science behind it, why this approach works. Now, you might be wondering, why does this actually work? It's all about how our brains are wired. When we experience rejection, it triggers the same area of the brain that processes physical pain. That's why rejection hurts so much. It's not just in your head, it's a real visceral experience. But here's the kicker. Just as our brains can be trained to endure physical pain, they can also be trained to handle emotional pain more effectively. By reframing rejection and using reverse psychology, you're essentially rewiring your brain to see rejection not as a threat, but as a challenge. This shift in perception reduces the emotional impact of rejection and increases your resilience over time. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, until eventually, rejection rolls off your back like water off a duck. Why Stoicism and reverse psychology are a powerful combo. Stoicism and reverse psychology might seem like an odd pairing, but they complement each other perfectly. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and accept what we cannot, while reverse psychology gives us a tool to influence outcomes in a subtle, almost paradoxical way. Think about it. By accepting rejection and not fighting against it, you're practicing Stoicism. But by then using that rejection as a reverse psychological tactic, essentially telling yourself, fine, I'll just do something else amazing instead, you're turning that acceptance into action. It's like a 1-2 punch to rejection, leaving it no room to bring you down. So, how do you usually handle rejection? Drop a comment below, and let's get real about it. Have you ever flipped a rejection into a win? I'd love to hear your stories, and you never know, your experience might just help someone else in this community facing the same struggle. What's the most impactful rejection you've ever faced? How did you deal with it? And what did you learn from it? Share your story in the comments. Your insight could be the turning point for someone else. The Stoics were onto something big. Rejection isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. So, the next time you face a no, remember, it's not a reflection of your worth. Instead, it's a nudge towards growth, towards a version of you that's even more resilient, more determined, and more unstoppable. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because you won't want to miss out on more life-changing insights like this. Until next time, keep embracing those rejections and turning them into your greatest victories. Remember, the power to transform rejection into triumph is within you. It's all about perspective, resilience, and that little bit of reverse psychology magic. You've got this.